Xanderhal is a leftist YouTuber who covers politics, gaming, and drama. Xanderhal started the channel in 2015 and has 100,000 subscribers, over 1,500 videos, and nearly 30 million channel views. His most popular video at 750,000 views is about his experience exploring issues from an alt-right perspective and escaping the pipeline. He has several other videos in the six-figure views range. Majority of his content is centered around culture and drama between influencers. Xanderhal streams around 3 times per week. The Middle East conflict has been a main topic lately. First video he made about Eric July is from 3 years ago, titled, "Black Conservative Fails to Argue for Segregation and Ethno-States."
I don't really know anything about this young Rippa59 guy. I know he's pretty right-leaning. He's kind of a reactionary. I mean, definitely. He made a video about how, when we were looking at it a minute ago, he made a video about how there's a cult around wearing masks during COVID. A worldwide pandemic. So, he seems to be kind of a brainlet, but he made a video that's about a year old, and I feel like covering it, because it looks like it's going to be some good content, called Why I Don't Obsess Over Racism.
At the beginning of the video, Xander says he doesn't know anything about Eric July, yet he is pretty sure that Eric is a reactionary. He is also pretty sure that Eric is a conservative, despite Eric repeatedly stating he is not a conservative. These tweets were made prior to Xander's YouTube video. He couldn't do basic research. Eric July is an anarcho-capitalist. And yes, there definitely was a face mask cult. Cult members wore masks in their car while alone. Many began double masking. Some even triple masked for extra virtue signal points. And don't forget about the constant government and corporate messaging to the point where the fashion industry was glorifying it. But like you said, Eric has to be a brainlet for noticing this cultist trend, right?
Because I'm black, I'm supposed to obsess over racism, and by obsession, I mean that, the sort of idea that I'm supposed to always talk about it, I'm supposed to call it out, but I'm also supposed to go out of my way to look for it and use my platform to denounce it. And
He don't miss. He don't fucking miss. So, what is he talking about here?
What are you going to say to counter this? Eric can use his platform however he sees fit, and doesn't have to fall in line to satisfy lunatic activists.
So for starters, the fact that he's black. No, I mean, more or less you do expect somebody who's black to probably care about, systemic racism that black people face, I mean, generally speaking, but sometimes you get really, really privileged black people who are in a good socioeconomic status despite the odds, and they end up having the survivorship bias, and they end up going in thinking, oh, well, I made it just fine. Why should I be obsessed over systemic racism when I'm just fine? Look at me. Look, I've got a successful YouTube channel with over 200,000 views. I had a really shitty socioeconomic status when I was a child, and I ended up fine. I never went to prison.
Guess what? Life is not fair.
Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody.
Life will never be fair. Eric worked hard to achieve his success. There will always be people who have less than others. There is no survivorship bias.
I'm pretty sure this guy's a cop. Wait, no, that's the Tatum guy. Never mind, different dude. Look at me, I'm the real racist. Mixing up black people. Oof, real racist. I'm pretty sure this guy's never been to jail. I bet he'll say why are black people so disproportionately likely to go to jail? They just need to act better. See, I never went to jail, and look at me now. I'm a big YouTuber. He's probably gonna do something like that. A lot of this, the mindset that this guy has, is based in survivorship bias. I did okay, so it must be easy.
the answer is always going to be no. I'll never do that, and here's why. Growing up a leftist, that was what was done. It's almost like it's a trait passed on for generations.
Growing up a leftist? Does this guy claim to be a leftist when he was growing up? I'm pretty sure this guy doesn't know the difference between leftist and liberal.
This video was made 3 years ago, and Eric started a business and created jobs. He is contributing more to society than you, Xanderhal. What a clown. You have no idea who Eric July is, but you talk like you have him all figured out. Eric July made a response video a few weeks later, and Xanderhal reacted to Eric's response. Xanderhal's video is titled, Eric July made an embarrassing response video to me.
And its existence is probably exactly what he wanted. But we hadn't done one in a while. Figured we respond to it. Why not? And it has a very interesting title, you know. The title, and this is a white leftist, by the way. The title is Black Conservative Fails to...
Damn, my dude, I thought you were conservative. Why are you engaged in that identity politics? Oh yeah, by the way, never buy it when the right says they don't like identity politics.
The title of your video says Black Conservative, and you somehow have a problem when Eric July describes you as a white leftist. You brought race into this first.
Especially black right-wingers, they are the first people to call any white person that criticizes their political beliefs racist. They are always the first person to jump on that shit. Fucking always. Hey, Young Rippa, aka Eric July, why are you so against identity politics, yet the first thing you say about me is, by the way, he's white? Now, I love the plus you're white thing. It's hilarious. Like, I'm completely fine with it. The problem is the blatant hypocrisy here, because I know you shit on identity politics all the time. I've seen you do it. Why is the first thing you comment on my race?
What do you mean you've seen him do it all the time? In your first video, you said that you barely know who Eric is, and now you act like you know him.
I mean, I guess the first thing I comment on in my video on you is your race, although it's probably not even the first thing. I mean, it's pretty obvious. But it's relevant to the discussion of your political beliefs. Because when we talk about black conservatives, they're advocating against their own best interest. That's why it's relevant what their race is in this discussion.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man? Bro, I'm out, man. That nigga's tripping.
However, the fact that I'm white isn't really relevant. But hey, you know, identity politics, everyone engages in it to a degree. I just don't like the blatant hypocrisy.
Okay, I see now. You're one of those. What makes you the authority on determining the best interests of the black community? The blatant hypocrisy is on your end. Stop shifting blame onto others.
to argue for segregation in ethno-states, which is interesting because I'm not a black conservative. I'm black, but I'm not conservative. And I'm so...
Bullshit. Really?
There you go. Eric states he is not a conservative for the millionth time, and you instantly call BS.
But this is like the vast majority of the audience of like black conservatives. They're always like white people, and I know this because I was one of these people. I was a white reactionary dude who wanted to hear black people tell me white people were oppressed. I was one of those shitty white boy like anti-feminists that wanted to hear women tell me that men are oppressed. Like, I was one of these people. I know how they think. I know how these people's audience think.
Congratulations. Sounds like you got brainwashed by woke professors in radical leftist university. Now you are a hero who uses his white privilege to advocate for marginalized communities. You, Xanderhal, are on the right side of history. Please never stop fighting the culture war. The Nobel Peace Prize is at your fingertips, stunning and brave.
But the vast majority, if not all, black conservative media figures have a massive audience of white people that like hearing black people or women or whatever tell them that they are the ones that are oppressed, and that like black people and progressives make too much of a deal about the oppression of these particular groups in society. This is always how it fucking goes. It's always how it goes.
Eric July does not make that kind of weird content. You're projecting these ideas onto the wrong man. In back-to-back videos, you mention survivorship bias, but you don't show where Eric disregards the struggle that less fortunate people experience, and then say that they can all become successful and that anyone can do it. Where does Eric say this, Xanderhal?
That is despite the odds.
First of all, that wasn't my case. I was born and raised by way of a single mother in South Dallas, Texas. Oak Cliff, grew up banking. I was in a lower socioeconomic status growing up. That was where I came from. And now I'm in a position I am where I'm not in such a lower socioeconomic status, but I grew up in that. So it wasn't this privileged. People love to use that term. Privileged. I was not that privileged black man. In fact,
it doesn't matter though. Survivorship bias is a real thing. There are like white people do it too, who are like working class. It has nothing to do, well, I mean, it has to do with race in this particular scenario, but like survivorship bias as like a psychological thing has nothing to do with your race. It has to do with being in a harmful, like a bad situation, like by the grace of God coming out of it okay, and then and then like believing anybody can do it because you managed it, even though you were like a statistically 1 in a million chance. You managed to pull it off. That's what survivorship bias is. Lots of white working class people do it too. They they may have grown up poor, but they turned out all right. And so now they're all big time capitalists and they're super in favor of it because they think that under capitalism in our current system, anyone can make it if they do it hard enough. It's like a staple, part of their ideology, of conservative ideology, just in general. It's not like a racial thing when it comes to survivorship bias at all.
Xanderhal took a 1-year break from taking shots at Eric July and returns in 2021 with a third video titled, Eric July's Stupidity Shocks Me as He Defends Sexual Harassment.
Okay, this guy is pretty interesting because I've covered him a few times before, and he actually, back in the day, made a response video to me and offered to debate me, and I responded with, okay, cool, just email me, here's my email, and we can debate. And I believe the topic was going to be, or like the proposed topic, because I'd responded to his video about it, was like systemic racism, and he claims that systemic racism isn't a thing because he's a conservative, and the thing that makes this, a little bit different than most conservative content creators we respond to when it comes to topics like that is that young Rippa 59 is a black man.
Eric July would destroy you in a debate. You wouldn't stand a chance, still calling Eric a conservative even after he responded to you. You're not arguing in good faith when you refuse to properly address the person. I wouldn't be surprised if Eric decided not to debate your goofy, disrespectful ass. You're the one wrong here and not Eric.
In like the gaming industry. We have another one here which is fucking hilarious. This is the title. It's coming from Bloomberg Law. Gaming's bro culture is what they're calling it. Faces a crackdown from California.
Wait, is he against California's investigation on Blizzard? Not even people in the gaming community would be making excuses for this. I guess so, because these people probably aren't even actually gamers.
Eric July didn't even react to the article yet, and you immediately make an assumption on his stance. Activists such as Xanderhal have no patience for due diligence and must categorize everyone and put them in a box as soon as possible.
So for what actually is happening here, so these big corporations like Activision Blizzard and Riot Games and obviously Tencent, which owns Riot, California, their state government, because their headquarters are all in LA, are doing investigations on there, and they've been finding rampant sexual abuse of female employees, and that's how we got this investigation that he's complaining about.
He has no idea what Eric's position is, but still jumps to conclusions.
Is how we found out about the horrible shit going on at Blizzard that has been like fucking earth-shattering news that has like basically disgraced the entire company with the horrible shit that was going on at Blizzard. Like the gaming community was shook by this news, and he's against this investigation. That's hysterical.
No sane and reasonable person is against holding criminals accountable. How about you listen to what Eric has to say before speaking nonsense?
Organization, or rather, department, government agency.
Is it obvious to anyone else that this guy has no fucking clue what he's talking about with this? He doesn't know what the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing is. He doesn't know about the whole Activision Blizzard thing and the horrible, horrible actions that the California government in their investigation found in their investigation of Activision Blizzard. Like, he's stumbling his way through this article. He's talking so slow that I want to speed it up, but it's only a 9-minute video. It's so obvious he has no fucking clue what he's talking about. He just saw the title of the article and thought, I can make a video about this.
Once again, how about you listen to what Eric has to say? Xanderhal has the attention span of a gnat and can't help but throw cheap insults around.
As it was described by the investigation, these offices at Activision Blizzard and Riot are like, what was the term that was used? Frat parties. They call it frat culture, where these dudes are like basically partying all day and they're playing grab ass with the female coworkers. It was a massive, massive problem. And these particular parts of the California state government that our boy Young Ripper here is so upset about, these are the sections of the California government that did this investigation and found these horrible situations going down. They were creating a massively hostile work environment, which, I mean, if you're a decent person, you wouldn't be a fan of. You wouldn't be happy about. But Young Rippa apparently is super in favor of the sexual harassment in the workplace at Activision Blizzard.
Another lie. Eric is not upset. He is still reading the article. This is the fourth or fifth lie so far. There is no possible way for Xanderhal to make the connection that Eric is in favor of criminal behavior. But this snake will keep trying.
To see a state agency, much less two agencies, intervene, they're saying. So basically what's happening is, it says, like it says right here, the agency also waives in July when it sued Activision alleging a frat boy work culture. So apparently people are, I guess, sexually harassing female employees. And yeah, if something like that is taking place wherever your company is, that's not good.
See? Eric is not in favor of it. What are you going to do now? Are you going to backtrack, Xanderhal?
You know what I mean? You don't want people...
Yes, the point that's being made in this article, my friend, is that this behavior has been found to be rampant in the gaming industry, way more so than other industries and other workplaces, that it is rampant in these particular industries.
People sexually harassing people, regardless. However, when you start crossing into economics, and then once the state gets generally involved, you get a problem. And what that problem? The state gets involved in like discrimination. You know what I mean? Suits. That's when the shit gets dicey, right? Sexual harassment.
The state's getting involved because it's so bad and so blatant. The state did an investigation to find out how bad things are. This is a good thing. Wait, is he against, like, the government saying that companies can't, like, exercise discrimination?
Discrimination is a bad thing, Xanderhal. It's not hard to understand. If these companies were covering up criminal allegations, harassment, and misconduct, then they should be held accountable. However, there should never be laws that make discrimination okay, even if the intention is to prevent harassment in the workplace. Talented workers would lose opportunities because they were profiled as a potential predator, when in reality, a small percentage is responsible for any criminal behavior.
Against certain groups of people when hiring?
That's something that is a very serious thing. And if someone is using aggression upon someone, like making a sexual advancement on someone that clearly is like, I don't want any part of that, in the workplace or wherever, that needs to be fucking stopped. Okay, I want to be firm on that. But when you start getting into like pay and discrimination and all that sort, that's a completely different fucking animal. Cause that ends up leading to, it leads to what you get in other industries, like for example with Hollywood, where people then no longer are hired based on merit.
Unqualified people are taking jobs away from the skilled and qualified. Incompetence is prevalent throughout all industries, and these disastrous policies are a main factor.
You're able to take legal actions to sue someone who sexually harasses you if you've got evidence for it. And California, the state government, investigated this company. They found they were engaging in sexual harassment, like employees there, and that it was a horrible workplace culture. And then they sued. And they won. Because they were right.
Nice. Okay, that's great. Criminals face consequences for their actions. That's good. No one is arguing against that.
Blunt about what they're going to signal with. So the sexual harassment thing is one thing. You don't want anything like that existing ever. But when we start talking about discrimination and, oh, this person looked at me funny or acted a certain way, or this my male colleague who's better than me makes more money than me type shit, there needs to be criminal or civil charges in that regards. Okay, we start entering into a completely different territory. So have no...
Dude, okay. Do you guys know what politically correct actually means? So what he's doing right now is engaging in political correctness, whether you realize it or not. When he says things like, someone acted a certain way or said a certain thing, what's actually being, like, done here, what's actually being penalized is, like, workers saying shit like, you see Laura over there in cube number 42? Damn, she's got a tight ass. Damn, I bet her pussy is fucking tight. Holy shit. You know what? I'm gonna invite her over tonight. You know, I'm her manager. I could literally fire her at any time. I'm gonna go. Listen, I wouldn't fire her if she said no, but when I ask her to come over to my place tonight, you know, she's gonna say yes because of the implication. You know, just because of the implication I could fire her, she's gonna say yes. God, she's got a tight, like that kind of shit's what's going on. He's engaging in political correctness because he doesn't want to make it seem like what's going on is as bad as it actually is. He doesn't want to say the word sexual harassment.
How many L's is this loser going to take? You are not paying attention to what Eric is saying. He clearly said the term sexual harassment a couple minutes ago. Stop lying, Xanderhal. You're desperate and have no argument, so you hope viewers don't notice the blatant lies you are spouting. Pathetic.
You should really look at his anti-vax videos. They're so bad. Listen, guys, he's a conservative. Of course he's an anti-vaxxer, okay? The right has placed their feet firmly opposing science, okay? That is their position. The right has always been the anti-science political movement, all right? It's how it's always been. It's how it's going to continue to be. I'm not surprised, all right? You guys don't have to rub that one in, okay?
Xanderhal posted his 4th video on Eric July 1.5 years after his 3rd video. This video is from 6 months ago in April of 2023, and it's titled, Rightoid Attacks Catgirl VTuber.
It has happened. I am being brought up by my own personal, sort of conscience to respond to a video, all right? I've been pushed by my own conscience to respond to this, all right? Now, for those of you guys that don't know, there's a pretty large YouTuber in the right-wing sphere who has a lot of prominence. His name is Young Rippa59. You might know him by having some of the dumbest takes you can possibly imagine on Twitter very often. I find myself dunking on his Twitter takes pretty often because they're pretty stupid.
You have the dumbest takes. Your takes were so bad that you got suspended from Twitter. You are about to share more of your dumb takes in this video.
But he also has a YouTube channel where he also says stupid shit. And, yeah, here it is. He's made a recent video called A Culture of Fear. So now you care about accuracy, and it's the picture of Holly Berry playing. So his whole thing is that he is a black conservative guy who does a lot of videos shitting on black representation in media.
Oh, okay. Still calling Eric July a conservative after all this time. Xanderhal couldn't be more biased.
He does like the anti-SJW, like go woke, go broke type content. And a lot of the times he'll do videos on, like, say, Ariel and the Little Mermaid remake being black, and he'll make the white supremacist arguments, or, like, the white identitarian arguments of, like, oh, they're injecting race into this media to, help normalize the replacement of white people. He'll make, like, those same essential arguments, but people won't call him racist because of his skin color, which is racist. It is racist not to call Young Rippa59 racist.
Wow, unbelievable. I can't believe you said that with a straight face. Incredible. Tell me, Xanderhal, who is Eric racist against? Why won't you elaborate?
With that said, he made a recent video that I've heard is dog shit about my friend Surus. For those that don't know, Surus is a like lefty slash like atheist content creator who is a VTuber who has like the big titty VTuber avatar, and he just does content like dunking on crazy far right Christians, Nazis, conservatives, like good content. It's basically the same stuff that I do.
In April of 2023, a VTuber named Surus made a video about Eric July. Video was titled, Young Rippa Anti-Trans Freak Out Over Spider-Verse Trailer. Surus is a man who uses a catgirl VTuber model. Eric July responded to Surus with a video titled, Who Are These Degenerates? It was hilarious watching Eric roast and dismantle this weirdo. The craziest thing Surus said is that most kids find out they are trans from 4 to 6 years old. I asked Surus for confirmation, and he doubled down like it's no big deal. He honestly believes kids find out they are trans at 4 to 6 years old. Crazy. Xanderhal believes in the same insanity and has to defend his buddy.
Young Rippa made a video on Surus saying, Who Are These Degenerates? Is the name of the video. So I am really, really excited to see what Young Rippa has to say about my friend, because I'm willing to rip into him a little bit. Heh.
Apparently, my mild take of saying child mutilation is bad has kicked this sort of nest of a bunch of
All right, so we're already starting off good. That's nice. So, and I'm gonna say, what probably happened is Young Rippa59 said that kids being trans and having access to any form of gender-affirming care is genital mutilating children.
Stop, Xanderhal. There is no such thing. Kids want to be dinosaurs, but adults don't entertain it because it's simply kids being kids. They don't know what is best for them, and it's the parents' responsibility to protect them until kids are old enough to make their own decisions.
The reason why they call it that is to make basic medical, like, procedures sound scary. If you describe the removal of an appendix in the same way, it'll sound just as scary. If you describe the removal of, like, hell, there are literally people who get gender-affirming care and other forms of care like this that aren't trans. There are tons of cis women who get breast reduction surgery or, you know, breast enlargement surgery so that their gender can be affirmed, or however they want to look can be affirmed. And yet you don't see anybody freaking out over this because it's only about the trans people. They just want to take rights from trans people. That's all that motivates these types. And money.
Are you seriously comparing those types of surgeries with a child undergoing unnecessary permanent changes?
Gay furries and whatnot, and they have doing a bunch of videos, and they have some interesting things to say. So there's one guy, Rippaverse Goalposts did post about guy. I don't know what this person identifies as. It's not actually important to me, but they had some interesting things to say about myself. So what we're gonna do is go through some of these videos and see what it is that they're gonna say.
I invited young Rippa to debate me once because I made a video on him, and I was like, I would love to debate young Rippa on the discussion of, I believe it was actually over-policing and racial discrimination by police and the criminal justice system. I offered to do a debate with him on stream, and he never, like it was a very public, like, you know, you made a video response to me calling you out, all right, let's debate, come on stream. Never responded.
It would be nice to see Eric mop the floor with you in a debate. Eric probably sensed some clout chasing vibes from Xanderhal and decided not to give him any more attention.
Look, man, if you're a creative in my space, you're going to have folks that are going to say things about you negatively. I say, why let them do it for free? We might as well make some money off of these degenerates.
In a debate could possibly change his mind. I think he's like very set in his ways and his beliefs, or he's a massive grifter. And I do lean more on the massive grifter side of things because I've seen his takes get more and more radical. Back in the day, his takes on like trans people were, I don't really care what you do as long as it's not in my face, right? Like a very standard, basic take, right? And then, nowadays, you see him arguing overtly mask off the more radical, far-right, like anti-trans position that's become more acceptable and more marketable at this age. So yeah, I think the degenerate thing is just meant to appeal to Nazis. I think a lot of this is like, Nazis watch this guy and they're like, he's alright.
Man, this guy is crazy. I can't tell if it's hyperbole or if Xanderhal truly believes his own words. This statement was so stupid that I don't have a response. He says things that make no sense.
It's time. Definitely a token. You know, definitely. Maybe you don't know the definition of token, but...
Well, I've defined it very thoroughly, you dumb son of a bitch. You can go watch my video. It's actually titled, I believe, Tokenism and Tokenization Explained. Now, I don't care how a degenerate uses the term. That's actually not important to it at all. If you want to understand what it is...
Dude, he's so fucking mean and mad. He's mad. He's mean because he's mad. Jesus. I've noticed that his channel's got a lot less views than it did last time we responded to him. Like back in 2020 or 2021, I think it was, last time I responded to one of his videos, he was pulling like regularly hundreds of thousands of views per video, like without fail. Now he's pulling like a few tens of thousands of views per video. So young Rippa is falling off. Like, even though his politics are more popular than ever right now, within the online sphere, his grift has been going for so long and it's gotten so old that it's just not really, like, he's just kind of falling off.
Xanderhal is counting Eric's YouTube views, but says nothing about the success of Rippaverse. Interesting.
Willy-nilly, so you're free to go watch that.
Okay, sure. Why not?
That's not what this is about. Now,
protect trans kids. That's what it says. Protect trans kids. That's fine. What's the problem with a flag that says protect trans?
Because
I mean, if anything, conservatives should agree with that, right? Don't they think that like trans people and are like grooming kids and like all trans kids are grooming victims? Don't you like you think that sentiment would be something they'd agree with? Protect trans kids. It's almost like the phrase protect trans kids means protect them from the right, trying to take their like rights away.
What? That's crazy. Take their rights away? Xanderhal is saying that a 5-year-old has the right to gender reassignment surgery, and the 5-year-old child understands their body better than their adult parents.
You know what's really funny? The right's reaction to the protect trans kids thing reminds me a lot of the it's okay to be white thing. So the right came up with it's okay to be white, which means which is a white supremacist dog whistle that was made up by white supremacist neo-Nazis in response to BLM. They came up with that because on the surface, it's okay to be white is an inarguable statement. Yeah, of course it's okay to be white. Who thinks it's not okay to be white? Maybe some really crazy radical SJWs out there, but most people agree with that sentiment. So it's a very easy to agree with statement. But if you disagree with it, it's very easy to pretend like the statement means nothing more than what the words mean. And that's what they do.
Why go off on this weird tangent? Stay on topic. You sound like a mental patient. What does this have to do with Eric July and the male masquerading as a catgirl VTuber?
Trans kids don't exist.
Kids. Most people
they
who
do.
are trans find out that they
Oh,
are
I'd love
trans
to debate him
between
on
the
this.
ages of 4 and 6. This is pretty well.
Wait, young Rippa, would you like to debate me on whether or not trans kids exist? I would love to debate you on that. I would love to debate you on whether or not trans kids exist. Because I know that gender dysphoria exists. There is overwhelming evidence that gender dysphoria exists in children. And there's overwhelming evidence that transitioning is the way to treat gender dysphoria. So if you want to try to argue the premise that trans kids don't exist, let's debate it on stream. I'll do it tomorrow. I don't need any prep time. Do it tomorrow. That's an easy one. I'm down. Let's go.
I agree that there are people who are confused with their gender. But there is no way you can make a good argument for transitioning as an effective way of treating it. Permanent procedures are not the way. All the data you need to know is that it's not a good idea to go against the natural order of things.
That's telling me that it's a learned trait. Certainly, if that is to be the case, of course, I will be very precise about my language here. When I talk about trans kids and them not existing, I'm speaking to the transitionary stuff. And this is something that, again, is a learned trait. And when you consider the
transitionary stuff. Yeah, so basically, what he's trying to say right now is that there is no merit to the idea of a kid transitioning. It's just a bad thing that there's no good sides to, no good arguments for. The problem is conservatives like this desperately rely on the idea of I've got things figured out. Let me just, intuit this by pulling it out of my ass, right? If I asked young Rippa59 right now while he was recording this, do you have any data to back up that idea? Like anything, even a medical institution's name that backs up the perspective that trans kids don't exist.
This is coming from the same people who told everyone to trust the science. Masks are effective. Stop the spread. Brand new untested vax will save lives. Just trust the science. Excuse me for not trusting the politicized and compromised medical community about a highly controversial issue.
There is none. There is not a single bit of solid scientific or medical evidence that actually argues that trans people are in any way invalid or that transitioning is bad for them. All data either shows that transitioning and reaffirmation either has an overwhelmingly positive effect on the mental health and well-being of trans people, or no effect. Either has no effect at all, and they stay the same, rarely, or it has an overwhelmingly positive effect, which is what's overwhelmingly found in the vast majority of cases.
The confidence this leftist activist has in the woke programming is fascinating. Xanderhal has no doubt in his mind.
Do you know what young Rippa would argue if I brought this up to him in a debate right now? He would argue that these institutions have been corrupted by the left. That's probably what he'd argue. Because once you get these people onto the discussion of data and science and facts, once you actually try to get them onto that stuff, very quickly they start to get scared and they want to get out of there because they don't actually have anything to back up what they say. It's all feelings. It's all yeah, the very basic understanding of human biology we all learned in elementary school is pretty much all you need to know, and it doesn't go any deeper further than that. The world is as simple as it was when you learned about it in elementary school.
You know what? Believe what you want, Xanderhal. I genuinely feel sorry for you. Brainwashed victim. Sad.
No, I'm not. I hate to use the term biological sex, because we're only doing that because they like to use gender and sex. They're not interchangeably the way they use it. But nonetheless, when you have someone that thinks that they are something else that they're not, definitely a youngster, when you consider that they're young, and they could be going through all.
Like, all these people's arguments hinge on the idea... They argue the same thing, that, like, kids can't be gay, because how could kids know that this lifestyle is what they want? Because they, like, fundamentally don't understand that, like, no amount of arguing there's no such thing as gay people or trans people will make gay or trans people stop existing. They just do exist, and your opinion... Well, reality just doesn't care about your opinion, right? Like, trans people exist, the science says what it says, and you are basically the party that is trying to bend the lives and science, or the lives of other people and science, to your will because you're uncomfortable with what the science says. So, I'm sorry you're uncomfortable with reality, but, like, you're just having it pointed out to you, and your response is to get mad and call the person pointing it out a degenerate because they have, like, a funny VTuber avatar with the big titties. Like, you're just triggered. You're a snowflake, is what I'm saying. You're a snowflake, young Rippa.
Xanderhal uploaded a 5th video about Eric July a few weeks ago on October 20th, 6 months after the 4th video. It is titled, Young Rippa Wants Strikers to Make Less.
So lately I've been covering a lot more of these far-right grifter channels. To be fair, this channel's much less right-wing than the ones I generally cover, but just as much of a desperate pandering grifter, which is ironic because one of his favorite insults towards media that he accuses of being woke is that it panders, but his whole thing is pandering to conservative, racist white people who hate representation, so... You know, it's a little bit funny. You know, there's a little bit of irony there that I can appreciate.
Yeah, okay. I'm done giving this guy the benefit of the doubt. It's clear at this point that he's comfortable openly lying to his audience. Whatever, man.
His name's Young Rippa 59, and I can appreciate the beard. You know, I try to say a nice thing about everybody I cover on this channel, unless they are just beyond heinous, but I don't actually think Young Rippa is that heinous, even though I think he's a dick. Last time I covered him, he was attacking a friend of mine, Surus. You know, for just really, like, bizarre reasons, calling Surus a freak and just a lot of ad homs and whatnot. So we dunked on Young Rippa for it, and it was a real grand old time. But we haven't checked in on him in quite some time, so I wanted to see what he's been up to.
You never dunked on anyone. Your weirdo friend took shots at Eric, and all Eric did was respond.
He got a random 70,000 view video a day ago that's just called Really? But besides that, he's getting less views on his videos than I do, with less than 100,000 subs. He's got well over 500,000. He is really falling off.
How is Eric falling off when his company is thriving and making millions every campaign? Why haven't you talked about the success of Rippaverse?
He's got a video from 2 weeks ago with less than 10,000 views. Another from 2 weeks ago with 8,000. 15, 22, 14, 13, 12, 8.5, 19, 15, 22, 9.2, 13, 16, 10. This is either my viewership or worse on a channel with more than 5 times my sub count. Woo! He's fallen off. There was a time when this guy refused to debate me on the topic of whether or not BLM was a terrorist organization that's bad for black people, because apparently I was too irrelevant. That is a funny thing to think about.
Right now, as many of you know, both writers and actors in Hollywood are on strike, and that's probably going to change very soon, but let's be precise. The Writers Guild of America is a union that represents over 11,000 screenwriters, and since May the 2nd, they've been on strike due to their disputes with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers.
For the record, this video's a bit old, but he put this out when the Hollywood strikes were happening, and the title is The Truth About the Hollywood Strikes, and the only knowledge I have going into this video, the only spoiler I've been given, is that he's anti-union. And he goes against the actors and writers union guild stuff in this, so...
Because writers aren't writing and actors aren't working, nor are they appearing on the promotional trail. The easy chicken shit generic position that will be adopted by anybody with a following is to side with the actors and writers. That
very good argument making to start by insulting the people who are taking the side of the strikers before you've even made your argument against them. Very just kind of leading in and making clear that this content is only for people who already agree with you and hate workers.
No, Xanderhal. You are the one who insulted Eric in multiple videos prior to hearing his arguments and prior to making your own arguments. You are the one with an audience that stays in an echo chamber with everyone repeating the same talking points.
Yeah. Rich people struggles. You know, the hard lives of the top CEOs and executives in these media companies.
Equation despite this conflict being between millionaires and billionaires. But forgive me if I don't take your word.
There it is. You know what's funny? Even my mom fell for this narrative. The idea that the people who are striking are millionaires. Most people working in Hollywood are working in low-level Hollywood. And the people who are against the strike are now trying to say, well, 0.1% of the actors striking are millionaires that everybody knows the name of, so we'll just claim that's all of them, and it's just a bunch of greedy millionaires who want more money.
I agree with this point. Majority of writers and actors are not wealthy. The narrative that it's only millionaires protesting against the billionaires is not accurate. I don't think Eric is making that argument if you take the full context of the video into consideration. Not one tiny segment.
You can't talk unions in America without talking about
Being union is much more commonly a privilege than it is a requirement.
their mafia ties. Many unions today still act in that same extortive manner while also being wings of the state.
He's trying to claim that unions are mafia adjacent and use mafia tactics.
There's a reason why many of them fought for legislation back in the gap to prevent employers from hiring replacement workers should they go on strike. But I digress because this isn't supposed to be.
Did he just say it's bad that these pro-union groups argued for laws that banned employers from firing and replacing striking workers? Yeah, that's a good thing. That's part of why a strike matters. It's being able to shut down your employer's ability to make money until he gives in to the collective will of his employers or his employees. That's the point.
Because they feel that'll put them out of jobs. So depending on what way you look at it, some make the argument that considering the quality, these guys are making too much money. But let's move on really quick to the.
I like that little jab there. Some would argue the quality of media nowadays says they're making too much money. I like that. He adds on that they should be making less money on top of all of it. He's against them getting paid more. He wants them to make less. I think that'll be the title of this video, by the way.
You're putting words in Eric's mouth. He said some would argue. Emphasis on some. In specific cases, there are actors, writers, and directors who create garbage content and get paid way too much. But there is also the argument that there are actors, writers, and directors creating high-quality entertainment who don't get paid enough. That's rare, though. Hollywood is falling apart.
To assess this is that one side is begging for the access to the resources of the money holders. So ask yourself, if we are to believe that these production companies are the greedy devils, why on earth are they working so damn hard to make a deal with the devil?
Because they're employers and there's no alternative. They have no choice. Just enormous IQ take.
They do have a choice. Work together and form their own independent companies. If they are so talented, surely they can create successful projects on their own, right? Why are they so dependent on corporations?
This is inexcusable. Now more than ever have the means been more affordable and decentralized. The internet.
Also, you're the one saying they're the devil. The whole devil thing is that's a machination of your brain. You completely constructed this narrative in your own head.
It has ensured more connectivity with like-minded individuals. If you have a great idea, you can connect with people to make dreams come true with a decent budget. And let these people tell it, we are dealing with the most creative, valuable people in the world. Yet for some reason, all the...
Why does he have to, I see why his content's falling off. He can't even take the pseudo-intellectual route. He has to do this weird passive-aggressive, he doesn't even pretend to take, left-wing people seriously in his videos.
You have no counter-argument, so you focus on how Eric is talking.
These geniuses have been unable to find a way to evolve from the current setup of entertainment. These people won't pull their resources together and come up with their own studios that are disconnected from the mega corporations.
Just make your own studios is now their take. Before it was make your own games, make your own movies, and they got mad when they made their own games and made their own movies. Now it's make your own studios
There's never been a better time than now to have that be the focus, yet this isn't even considered, and that shouldn't be ignored. Either these people aren't as competent as we're led to believe, or there is far much more to the story, possibly both. If these people spent their energy coming up with creative ways to correct the problems they have, they wouldn't need to beg.
Like what? A good one is striking. Coordinating a strike like this is a pretty creative solution. Pretty impressive, too. I like how his like, here's what you should do is a vague, non-specific statement that means nothing. When what the strikers are doing is actually something that actually did something.
So I took a risk. I invested hundreds of thousands of my own dollars, and now we've made more than $6 million.
That's hard to hear. Ooh.
In sales in a year, and everybody here is paid competitively and on time. My contractors get the money almost immediately upon submission of their work. For our books, we have favorable bonus structures for our writers, and our employees get benefits. And should there ever be a problem, we can address it and pivot when needed. This is why our folks don't treat the Rippaverse like it's just some other gig. They scream it from the mountaintops that they work for this company. But the actors and writers,
dude, you guys got to make sure I don't forget to check in on this channel over the next couple months. I really want to make sure I'm there to watch the downfall of this entire company and brand and his entire channel. I really want to make sure I'm there to watch the downfall of this entire company and brand and his entire channel. I really want to make sure I'm there to watch the downfall of this entire company and brand and his entire channel.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Mask-off moment. Xanderhal has so much hatred and envy in his heart that he wishes Eric July and his employees go broke. Xanderhal wants people who disagree with his radical views to lose their income and become homeless. This is who he is. A monster who celebrates failure. Shameful.
in entertainment aren't trying to evolve from the unions or making deals with the megacorps. The other non-striking entertainers, like directors that cheer these people on, aren't coming up with creative ideas to evolve either or work with them. Here's the truth and why it's a match made in hell. The status quo, regardless of how much they complain about it, is much more preferable than the uncertainty that comes with independence. The megacorporations are the only entities that can assume that type of risk, lose millions and even billions of dollars, yet still pay these people even in poor performance. They are able to...
This is just him ranting about how, like, desperate and evil and greedy the workers are. And, like, it's kind of funny because the strikers got what they wanted, and this video's, like, you know, a little bit older. So everything that he didn't get what he wanted. The strikers didn't make less money. They're now making more, and they got a bunch of their demands.
Xanderhal, please never stop making these cope videos. We will all continue laughing at your clown takes. Until next time, loser.